What's up everybody, Cayna here, and today we're having another first impressions video. Today we're going to be talking about the priest class, more specifically the Shadow Priest class. Now, you've seen Cayna Priest in Battle of the Soul lore. It wasn't the hottest thing, so I decided to bring someone smarter alongside me. Jaerv, yeah, just go ahead and quickly introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm Jaerv. Main Shadow Priest, also do a lot of theory crafting. Might have seen me on like Hunter or Warlock during progression, but always been a Shadow Priest main since late VOD.
But screw the Hunter, screw everything else that you've played. We're gonna go into the Shadow Priest type of things. So, first off, just give me like your completely naked first impressions of the tree, the gameplay. Like, has the gameplay changed at all? How do you see the trees? Like, just initial first full impressions.
Well, it's basically Shadowlands Shadow Priest, but without any utility and some new wonky stuff. But I think the biggest issue is that there's like no synergy in the general tree. Like, you can't really take the healing sides, you can't really take disc priest things. You only have like 2 rows, and then there's nothing else.
Yeah.
You have 1 or 2 points that you can move around a little bit, but
Yeah, I mean, we'll be
it's
touching
very
on this.
bad.
Yeah, we'll be touching on this a bit later as well, because like feels like there's some things in the Shadow tree that should be in the Priest tree, and some things in the Priest tree that maybe should be Shadow specific. But we'll be going over all of that. But before we go into the Shadow stuff, let's just kind of jump into like the main Priesty stuff. Let's go over the specific tree. So you already mentioned it's, you know, I've already tried to build out one myself, right? So if you just follow the path, right, like kind of just go through with me. It's like, what should you be taking as a Shadow Priest? Like, what's like the main stuff, right? Let's just build out the base tree.
There's only one way to build it, really. Like, you start off with Shadow Death, of course, and then you go like Shadow Man, you go Mind Restrain, Masochism, Dispel, Feather, Twist of Fate, Improved Mind Blast. Then you go down like towards Shadow Flame Prism, and you grab Throes of Pain and Puppet Master on the way there for some extra mastery and stuff. And then you go, of course, into the middle with PI, Twins.
Yeah. All right. You said, do we actually take the Dispel, the Purity Dispel, or?
Dispel Magic you always take, because that's on the way to Power Infusion. So
oh,
like...
okay. Right. Sorry, I was looking at Dispel. I was looking at Dispel Disease. Right. Sorry. Okay. So, Master Spell, I guess, because I can't go into Mind Bender, and I guess we just work also towards Mind Games.
Yeah, exactly. Through the middle, through Power Infusion, Twins.
Well, you actually get Twin. Okay, so you always get Twins as a Shadow Priest, so that's one way to keep your PI to yourself, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's way too strong to not take, even though it's a bit boring, but...
So, we've built out the tree, and we're 30 out of 31 right now, so we have 1 talent point.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the issue.
Right.
Like, most of the time you're gonna take Grip, but
yeah,
you kind of have like that 1 point. You can also like take out maybe 1 point minus Strain. You can maybe take out Masochism, move it around for like Shackle, Purify Disease, maybe if you need Mind Control or something, but yeah.
It feels like from like the Shaman tree, like almost everything is connected. Like, it feels like maybe you should be able to go from like Puppet Master to like, you know, Transluted Image. Maybe you should be able to go from Improved Mind Blast to like, you know, Shadow Fiend or like Mind Control. Like, it feels like that's very much just like when you look at like Leap of Faith, Clear Mind, and Shackle, it's like, you know, these things are only connected to one. So even if as a Holy Priest, right, you would want to take it, you couldn't go from like Enlightenment to Leap of Faith. You couldn't go from Holy Nova to Clear Minds. Like, it feels like you really just have to build out a tree incredibly specific, whereas like, you know, it's very like downwards, right? It's very vertical. Whereas with a lot of the other trees, like if you have like Warrior or like even Hunter to a degree now, or Shaman, for example, you know, it kind of goes from left to right rather than from top to bottom. So you really have this top to bottom build line, and it's like very specific. If like, yeah, you just have like 1 point to kind of spend on some utility.
Yeah, it's very bad in that sense. But even then, like, even if you had a better structure in the tree, like, there's nothing else you can take as a Shadow Priest.
So,
like, the entire left side is just bad.
Yeah, it's just healing stuff. Can you even use Prayer of Mending in Shadow form, or does it put you out?
Prayer of Mending you can... Wait. No, POM you cannot. Renew you can.
Right. Yeah, that's... I mean, that definitely does feel good, right? Like, you would never want to just, like... The only way how you get to, like, things like Renew is by taking POM. And then the only way how you ever cast it is by every 12 seconds leaving Shadow form and then re-entering Shadow form.
Yeah, It feels really, really bad.
Yeah, that does not sound great at all. Is there kind of anything in this tree that you're like, okay, I do like this in like the tree? Like, is there any talents that you're very happy to see?
Masochism and Mind Restraint are like the two big ones for me. Very simple talents, but they are incredibly strong if used correctly.
Right, so like mechanism or mechanism is basically like before damage happens, you shadow mage yourself, you get the debuff, and then you just have 10% DR for basically anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's really cool. I like those type of things where it's like there's a little bit of playstyle. It's like there's kind of the same thing with Fate, but Fate felt like you would just press it every 30 seconds to get some DR. But this actually is like some active gameplay around it, which I always think those type of things are good. So like yeah, I mean that's really nice to see actually. And I also like that you have a flat-out choice of just getting some really early movement speed, because that's one thing that Shadow Priest are always like, oh, I want to take, Vampiric Embrace, but I'll lose my utility, my movement speed, and it just felt bad. So I am happy to actually see Angelic Feathers like the first choice you get to take.
Yeah, Feather is amazing. I do think it's a little bit weird that it competes with Body and Soul, but because they do kind of exactly the same, like it's the same amount of movement speed, but I'm happy that we get Feather at least. It's very good.
Is Feather on or off the GCD?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird that they are the exact. I guess Feather is a little bit longer duration, and Body and Soul can be activated on multiple people like faster, but...
Yeah, I guess you might play like Body and Soul on this place because you use shields anyway. So
yeah, exactly. Okay.
I guess it's not the worst choice node in the world, but it's a little bit weird.
Yeah, maybe they should have like put like something else in there. Like maybe even put like the choice as Leap of Faith, right? So I didn't want to support. Probably not, because then you're never gonna have your personal movement speed. It's not the worst. It's not the worst. Okay, so
it's fine.
Is there anything in this tree that you're like, this really should not be here for Shadow? Like, is there anything that you're like, what is the point of this?
I mean, the entire left side tree, like, it makes no sense for them to have like improved smite and like Holy Nova damage and even more Holy Nova damage and healing while shielded, and like there's a lot of weird stuff that even if you didn't take Shadow Flame Prism or Mind Games, like you don't even have those spells, so you can't even use the talents. So there's like no variance at all for Shadow Priest.
Yeah, like even going into like like a crystalline reflection, like you wouldn't really want to be sitting there, because like Shadow with Power with Shield isn't that powerful as a baseline spell. So like you wouldn't want to be sitting there as a Shadow Priest during a heavy damage period to sit there and cast some Power with Shields on people and get some damage off that. Like that just doesn't sound worth it at all. Like it isn't.
Yeah, it's very weird.
It isn't like it's enough healing to like justify. Like Power with Shield would have to be a busted number for that to ever kind of feel like a worthwhile thing. And even then, after like 5 Power with Shields, I think you oom. So yeah, no, it's definitely a bit weird. I do think it's like a hard thing to get, but I think there just needs to be like more baseline utility things, which I mean, we're gonna go to the Shadow Tree now, so I think that will kind of happen itself. But like things like, Silence, even Shadow Form could be in there, Vampiric Embrace could maybe be in there, Dispersion could maybe be in there, right? Like these type of like utility type of things that you kind of want as a priest. I feel like those should be a little bit more in there, right? Like realistically, I think you could remove the entire Shadow Fiends part from that and just add in like other utility stuff, and at least it's gonna allow you to kind of build the tree a bit different and actually pick up some utility stuff.
Yeah, like priests have a lot of utility points, but for some reason they decided to place it all inside the Spectres instead.
Yeah.
Like even stuff like Shining Force or Symbol of Hope and Purify, Halo, Divine Star, stuff like that is in the Disc and Holy trees, like it would work perfectly for a Shadow Priest.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and I think that's kind of the difference behind like what has happened with these trees is like, Enhancement Shaman can take Thunderstorm or Lightning the Soul, right? Or it can go into Ancestral Guidance now, right? Like you can take those nodes as Enhancement Shaman. The tree kind of tells you should probably follow this route as an Enhancement Shaman, but you have the option to, may it be very useful for if you are a Shadow Priest and you really want that knock, you can get the Shining Force. But yeah, like you said, like 25% damage on Smite really feels like that should just be in like a Holy tree, right? Like that doesn't really make sense in the class tree. But okay, I mean that's...
Yeah, I don't know why they put so much throughput and output inside the class tree. Like,
yeah,
it should just be utility and things that work with every spec in some sense. Like it doesn't have to be perfect for every spec, but it
No,
should
of
like
course not.
kind of work.
Yeah, you should at least be able to take the talent and be able to use it, right? Like, an Announcement Shaman or any Shaman can use Healing Stream Totem because we literally get the button from the tree, but you can take Improved Smite, you literally do not have Smite as a button, so you can't use it, right? So it definitely feels, yeah, that feels a bit off. But I think that's good feedback, right? Like, take the utility, like Shining Force, those type of things, put those into the class tree, and then take the Throughput things and put those into the specific trees. And then I think you're gonna have, like, a lot more building around, which would be very cool to see.
Yeah,
Alright.
I would love that.
Alright, let's move on to the actual Shadow Tree. So just kind of like, you know, same thing with this. Let's just kind of like walk through the things that you take, and then kind of walk through the things that you like about it, that you don't like about it. So where do we start?
It kind of depends. Do you want to go like more single target or AoE?
Let's begin with single target.
Okay, so single target, you take the first 4 points. This just so you get your buttons to press. So you take Mind Fey, Vampiric Touch, DP, and you have to take Mind Sear for single target, which is very weird, but.
Okay.
And then you take the Fortress of Mind behind Mind Sear.
Mm-hmm.
Then you don't have to take the Misery Sear Nightmare node, but you most likely are gonna take Misery for single target.
Misery for okay. Feels.
But you don't have to. You can leave it like if you want. You don't need that point, but.
Right. Okay.
And then you go down Silence. Go to Vampiric Insight.
Right.
And then you go all 3 points in the middle for your cooldown. Void Eruption, Hungering Void, Ancient Madness. All the juicy ones.
Oh, hold up. You said Void Eruption.
Hungering Void.
Hungering Void, there we go.
Ancient Madness.
Right, okay.
And then you go the 2 apparition nodes to the left there. Shadowy Apparitions and Auspicious Spirit.
Ooh, I remember those. Okay.
And then you go right side is the so-called single target side.
Right.
So you go Monomania, Damnation and Malediction under it. And then you go down right side. Void Touched, Void Torrent, Mind Devourer.
Okay.
And then down here you can go all the way to the right side for the new idols. But right now they are kinda weak, even in like design. Like you would take Idol of Saturn for single target, but it's just a copy paste of probably the worst legendary we have currently in Shadowlands. So
yeah.
So as it stands right now, you would go Insidious Ire, which is the Talabar legendary. It's in the middle there on the top.
Yep, got it.
And then you go Rod and Wither.
How did I
Unleash the Shadows?
How did I even get to take this?
Yeah, for some reason, like if it doesn't have a connecting line to it, you only need the required points to pick it. It works like that in game as well.
Huh, okay. Interesting. I haven't seen that in the Shadow Tree. That's very cool.
It's weird, but it kind of works.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so you take Unleash the Shadows, Rod and Wither, they're in the middle. Then you take Living Shadows at the bottom, middle, and Eudelic Intuition to the right of it.
Vampiric Insight. What's Vampiric Insight exactly?
So that's the reworked version of Dark Thoughts that we have right now. It's the one that gives you Mind Blast procs.
Right, okay. So that's usually 3 Mind Blast procs, right. So this is kind of the single target tree. Now, I'm gonna bring up a concern. There's no dispersion in this.
Yeah. That's the issue.
So that looks like a lot of damage. I mean, do you need Unleash the Shadows? Vampiric Touch, I mean, I guess it's really good with us with spirits and shadowy aspirations, but it feels really bad to not be able to take it personal. Or...
But like this is the issue with putting utility in the Spectre.
Yeah.
Because it's always gonna compete with the damage. So like even like sure you can remove like Malediction, you can probably remove Unleash the Shadows. It's not like high damage talent, but it would still feel bad to remove damage to get utility.
Yeah, I can definitely get behind this. Like right now I just remove like Misery and Malediction to pick up like Dispersion and the Dispersion talent, because they seem pretty busted.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
like
mean,
you will definitely do that in progression.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, for sure.
I'm not saying you should play without dispersion, but it's more to show like the issues of the tree.
Yeah. So one thing I instantly noticed, and this just looks like this feels like it feels bad to me, it's right. Like they wanted to allow you to not have to take certain utility points, right? If you play a shaman, you can run into an M plus without an interrupt. You can run into an M plus without a stun, like without a knock up. And meanwhile, as a Shadow Priest, you're building out your damage tree, and you have to pick up silence to even get to a defensive, right?
Yeah.
So, like, how would you, like, how do you like this tree? Like, what is like, would you like some things to be like moved around? Like, would you like to see like Mindseer maybe go to like a right side, or like move Dispersion like into the utility tree, or to like, what would you kind of do to like make sure that you can pick up Dispersion, or like, you know, you don't have to take like Silence and Mindseer? Like, what are there like some easy move routes that you see that can improve the tree?
I mean, the easiest for me is to move the utility points into the generic tree. Like, that's a no-brainer for me. It shouldn't compete with damage in the spec trees.
That seems quite fair. I guess like maybe there's like a concern, like, you know, you have a Disc Priest in the arena, but like they could probably just give it some PvP tuning, right? Like I can see why a Disc Priest with a silence, it sounds kind of scary. But at the same point, right, they could probably just either put it somewhere where it's like almost unachievable for Disc, or just have it like, you know, maybe the silence is like 2 seconds, for example, right? Like they could do something like that. They can make it so that you can take it, but it's not the end of the roll.
Yeah, like that's kind of the point that most people bring up, like silence and dispersion on like a disc priest in PvP. But like dispersion, you can kind of fix if you put it like far right side on the generic tree, so you actually have to invest a lot of points to get it, and by taking it, you kind of lose the disc version of the defensive.
Yeah.
Then it's kind of a fair trade-off. And for silence, you can just put like a base version of it inside the generic tree that only interrupts the target. And then in the shadow tree, you can add the silence to it.
True, yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Also, like, just realized, like, Psychic Horror is there. Like, I like Psychic Horror for Shadow Priest thing, but again, like, that really feels like it's stuff that should go into the utility tree. Because if you look at it like that way, you basically free up 5 spots inside your tree already. In my eyes, even Viperic Bray should be there, so then Shaolin as well. So, like, you have very quickly, like, 7 points inside your Shadow tree right now that you could just move to the Priest tree. And then, you know, bring, like, Shadow Fiend and that type of stuff into this tree and really give us, like, some more choices.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there anything, like, that has been added to the tree that is, like, new? That you, like, you know, you brought up, like, the idols. Is there anything else that you're like, I am happy to see this part of the PvE tree now? Like, I think Psychic Link, for example, I think that was either a legendary or a PvP talent. Is that, like, kind of stuff
It's
that
a
you
normal,
like?
it's a normal talent
Okay,
right
okay.
now, but there are a few things like Vampiric Insight, as we touched on before. Like, it's basically Dark Dots that we have now, but they moved it from your filler channels to dots instead,
Okay.
which I think is the correct way to do it. I always felt like it made more sense to have it tied to your dots. The only issue with it right now is that it's RPPM instead of, like, if you compare it to Lava Surge on the Elemental Shaman, that's a flat 10% chance. So the more targets you dot, the more procs you get.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same amount of procs, no matter how many targets you dot.
Right, okay.
Which feels a little bit weird.
So you can't go, like, dot 10 targets and just, like, you don't have a follow option, basically. Like, you can't dot 10 targets and just mind blast living shit out of a guy.
Yeah. I would like them to move it to be very similar to Lava Surge.
Yeah.
In that sense.
I mean, I think, like, that's, like, gameplay choices. Like, I think, like, those are important. Like, if they would do the same with Lava Surge, like, suddenly, like, all our funnel choices are just that, right? Like, it's a very big part of playing Elemental is, like, you know, thinking about funnel and when to use it. So I feel like those type of things, like, yeah, that would be a cool option. Anything else that you like?
Yeah.
I like this here.
The middle 3 points with the Void Eruption. Being able to have both Hungering Void and Ancient Madness, I think is going to be very, very good. It basically just adds even more burst into our cooldowns, which bursts has always been like the best way to deal damage in WoW. And
yeah. I mean,
bringing
especially
some more burst to Shadow Priest is very welcome.
Yeah, I mean, especially after you know, your entire Void form shenanigans expansions back, like having some burst is definitely welcomed. Is there
Yeah.
anything on like the left side? Because I mean, I guess that's kind of like where you start building, where you go into cleave tree.
Yeah, I mean, like the only difference between the single target one and the AWM plus one, so to speak, is that you basically go left side instead of going like the Void Torrent and Damnation stuff. And then you go down all the way down to the left for Idol of Ensof. Otherwise, it's very, very similar. Like you still pick up Living Shadows, you still pick up Unleash the Shadows and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, Idolotic, like the Vampiric Insight talent, it doesn't really have much use on AoE if it's if it's on RPPM. It doesn't really have much use. Okay.
No.
Can you ever like build the start different? Like, can you ever go for like Virgiling Darkness? Can you ever take like Mind Bomb, Vampiric Embrace, Death and Madness? Or is that just like parts of the tree that's like you lose too much from it?
I mean, you basically have one point. You can move the silence point to the left side and take Mind Bomb or Psychic Voice instead. That's basically the only choice you have at the top.
Right.
Because anything else that you start picking is gonna move away points further down the tree.
Yeah.
And that's all damage.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to take like kind of 2 points away and get the dispersion and the dispersion talents. But I guess it would be way too much damage loss, because like after the first 2, you really start taking away like lost talent nodes, right? Like you really start losing the big percentage of damages. So you're never really able to pick up dispersion talents and vampiric talents, right? Like that's almost just a no-go at this point.
Yeah, it just doesn't work.
Okay. I mean, like, yeah, like that's the type of stuff like I think I would like to see. But in general, so just like, as a finisher, what would you rate the tree at right now? Like, if you just take just the shadow tree, like from a 1 to 10, like where do you think you are right now?
Like a 2, maybe?
Ooh.
Like it's very, very bad.
Okay. That's definitely one of the more negative ones I've heard. I mean, like, obviously from the discussion, I mean, you bring up a lot of valid points. So, like, if you're like the Shadow Priest Death, like the work list, like, I'm gonna guess the first thing is move the utility into the priest tree and the damage stuff into the shadow tree, right?
I mean, the 2 big things for me is moving utility, as we talked about, and then Searing Nightmare. Like, it has to go. It's the worst AoE spender in the game.
Okay. What would you like to see it replaced with?
Like, anything. We need to have an AoE spender. First of all, it needs to be 1 global cast. It can't be like it is now that you have to press Mind Sear just to be able to spend your Insanity AoE. And then, like, it should... I don't know how to put it, like, the entire tree is trying to give value into dots, into apparitions, into psychic link, mind blast, stuff like that. And you have an AoE spender that doesn't synergize with either of those.
Would you,
talents.
Considering like the way like how Vampiric Insights work, if that wasn't like on RPPM, would you like to see something that like it's like a buff that you activate off the global for like 18 sanity that makes your next Mind Blast AoE? Like, would something like that work, considering like how much stuff there is for Mind Blast?
I think you can fix it like 100 different ways.
Okay.
Like almost anything is better than Searing Nightmare, but it should work with the rest of the rotation. It shouldn't be a thing that just like completely negates all the other talents in the tree.
It just doesn't feel smooth. Like, it just doesn't feel like it has its place, right?
Yeah, it's just there to do AoE damage, and like it does a lot of damage. It's not if all you're looking at is damage, it's a good talent, but like the way it plays it's terrible.
That's fair. Okay. I mean, without further ado, thank you very much for having us. Do you have any like shoutouts you want to do? Like, you want to shout out any of your channels or anything? Or you stream a little bit of alpha here and there?
Like, I stream a little bit on Twitch during alpha and beta at Jaerv and XD, but I don't really have a Twitter. I don't do social media, and you can find me over at Warcraft Priest Discord if you have any question about Shadow.
There we go. Alright, we'll make sure that to get those noted as well. But anyway, guys, thank you all very much for watching. We'll be doing a lot more of these type of first impression videos, going over with a lot more of the Method Squad as well. So thank you all very much for watching. If you have anything that you'd like to mention, anything that you'd like to see in the future, anything that you'd like to see us do more during these type of videos, make sure you leave a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Method YouTube channel for any further videos. Thank you all very much for watching. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.